Hey, what's up, y'all? And of course, welcome to another alternative factuals video. So yes, today is going to be a very interesting video. It's not going to be anything too extensive in terms of how I usually would kind of format these videos. I'm not even completely sure if it's going to be 10 minutes or not. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of dive into it a little bit right after I do my usual, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're feeling, stick. And without further and or possible ado, let's kind of just dive into today's video. So there's been a lot of, I wouldn't say controversy, but more or less just a lot of, I guess, confusion. And I guess I can kind of say controversy regarding the new origin of Static Shock that's currently in production. I saw this on Twitter actually, the panels that I'm going to show on the screen, but basically we got a little preview of what the comic is going to be like in terms of the return of Milestone Media. Now, for those of you who may not know, the return of Milestone Media is in regards to a lawsuit against DC Comics that was basically started by Dwayne McDuffie's wife. They were not properly including her or any of the other people who were involved involved in his projects properly, and that wasn't a lawsuit. I don't quite know the details of the lawsuit, but all I know is Milestone Media is making a return. Now, what does that mean for characters that, like Static Shock, who have crossed over with other DC comic heroes like Black Lightning, for example? Well, to be honest, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know the details of everything. I don't. In reality, I'm going to figure it out as soon as you guys figure it out, or as soon as that information becomes public. But yes. So we apparently got a new origin of Static Shock, and apparently it seems like what's going to be happening to his origin is that instead of the Big Bang, which introduced a lot of characters in general when it came to not only just Black Lightning, I said Black Lightning, but when it includes Static, except for Static himself, but other ones like I believe Heatstroke, Rubber Band Man, the people like that who were villains, even some of those I forgot the name of the gang that was actively I guess a part of the whole, not just a Static Shock TV show, I mean like Static in general, the Bang Babies, those heroes, those villains and all that stuff, a lot of them are kind of going to cease to exist in this new continuity. Now, I don't think that's so much the issue when it comes to the reason why people are kind of upset about this whole scenario. The panels that you can see on the screen right now, I think the issue is, or the problem that a lot of people have, is that not only is it changing the origin from Static kind of getting his powers after some tear gas was launched at a gang war at some point, and ultimately the gas kind of exploded into some other gases that were already on the pier, and then it was just back and forth with all these gangs plus the police, and then thus Static was born. But in this new origin, it seems like Static is getting his powers because he was attending a Black Lives Matter protest, which in reality, a lot of, like I said, some people are just simply upset because the Bang Babies don't exist in a traditional sense. At least they feel like they're not going to in the traditional sense, which is, I mean, I get it, because I guess, people don't like change, especially when it comes to comic books. People don't like change. People don't accept the fact that new things are, not always bad when it comes to comics. It can be, don't get me wrong, but, new things are not always bad. But, I mean, it's understandable. It's uncomfortable. But my primary, I guess, reason from what I've seen and gathered from, I guess, some information on Twitter, some information on other social media platforms when they're talking about the new origin of Static, is that they don't like how political this comic is. Now, I tell people all the time, comics in its complete and unadulterated origin in terms of why comic books were created way back in the 1930s and 40s and stuff like that, and the original comics, which was DC Comics. I think Superman was like the first hero, if I remember correctly. Probably not the absolute first, but like one of the first. So comics were created for political reasons. A lot of, when it came to World War I, World War II, a lot of those comics actually promoted very much so of the war that was happening, like the propaganda, what was wrong with either going to war or the issues on why they had to go to war. Comics were used as mediums to convey political messages since its introduction. That has not been a new thing. It's literally the reason why comics exist today. and a lot of people may not realize it, but even a lot of stories that are told that may not directly reflect political views nowadays, and I mean directly as in immediately reflect political views, much like this new origin. Even a lot of concepts when it came to, I'll even give you an example, Marvel Comics, for example. Ultron is a reflection of what happens if mankind tries to create artificial intelligence. Now, some people feel that artificial intelligence is man's way of trying to play God in some aspect. We're literally creating another being out of artificial and synthetic parts and allowing it to learn and think. But with those synthetic parts, with those, metal pieces, their limitations will be way further than ours. And basically that's what would happen if you gave someone with artificial intelligence the ability to learn, think way faster, be stronger, and constantly being able to adapt. And in reality, Ultron is relatively immortal because his mind can always be uploaded and put somewhere else, wherever there's data or information that can be stored. So even though it may not seem as obvious, that is something a lot of people have been worried about as technology begins to advance. So something as small as that, or maybe not as obvious as that, is a reflection of some people's views on the world, real life issues. So you can't say that this comic is too political, because if you've read the original Static Shock comics, even besides the original origin that they gave Static, a lot of what was spoken about in terms of how Static was going to school, how teachers interacted with him, how police interacted with him, and even in the Static Shock TV show itself, how Richie's dad was very much racist. These are real problems that, not only were just written about recently, things that have been around for a very, very long time. So I think people need to understand that Static's new origin is just a reflection, or more of an updated version based on the times that we're living in. Why not be able to update a character as, well known as Static, who is very much prominent in the black comic book community, much like we do any other comic book? Wonder Woman gets an update, Superman gets an update, Green Lantern gets an update. But why not do the same thing to Static, who has been off the board since New 52, and we haven't seen him since DC Rebirth, obviously, because like I said, that whole lawsuit. But I'm just saying, in the sense of continuity, why not let Static get an update? And don't let this be confusing either. Even though this comic book is being written by different people whom you may recognize as well as may not recognize, for the most part, Dwayne McDuffie was very much a political guy. He's always talked about how police are killing black people for far less things than what the original origin was even kind of exploring. You don't have to be in a gang for the police to kill you anymore. It's just more or less just breathing, existing, and being black. People don't understand that, and people use this as an ammunition to why must everything be political? And I'm like, in reality, this is the world that we live in, and people are afraid to see that their fantasy worlds or characters that they may like, or their comic books, are now beginning to, I guess, directly reflect what's going on in this world, which is crying shame, honestly. The world is just very overwhelming in a lot of ways for people who are not of European descent. But nonetheless, this new origin is basically going to take place in a more politically charged scenario, but a more updated politically charged scenario. So he's not in a place where he shouldn't be. More or less, it's just one of those situations where he gains his powers already kind of doing the right thing for the right reasons, but ultimately he still would gain his powers and kind of still try and do the right thing as he kind of progresses through this new 2020 world. Since this origin is taking place in the Black Lives Matter movement, obviously this has to take place within 2019 all the way forward until its release date, I believe in 2021. So it's I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of things going on when it comes to this comic. But yes, just to understand, Dwayne McDuffie, he was very political. He intentionally made his comics, a reflection of what it is and what it means to be black. And he created Rocket. Milestone Media in general was just a reflection of what he envisioned for comics for black kids. And like I said, just read the panels. If you want to pause the video, you can do that as well. Just go over the panels, read it, and you'll understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. And there's no moral issue with this comic. I'm pretty sure we're still going to get those characters that we know and love for a fact. The means in which we get them is just going to be very much different. So this is just a video strictly about my opinion regarding something that has been leaked. I won't say leaked, but more or less just given to us as a preview to kind of get us excited for Milestone Media and the return of Static and the return of other characters like Icon and other characters along those lines as well. So I'll be covering all that, by the way, too, on the channel. So as you know, those comics become available, I'll cover it, break those down and all that stuff. But let me know what you think about this new origin of Static, and what you think one of the biggest issues we have when it comes to the country that we live in regarding these new characters and this possible origin, and why people are so upset. So if you're new to the channel, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe. Leave your comments down below and let me know what you think, let me know what you feel, and I hope to see you later on. Ooh, peace out.